Polyphony Digital just released their third major update for Gran Turismo 7. The Spec III update brought some new cars and some new tracks, and today we're going to look at one of those cars. The Ferrari 296 GT3 has finally arrived to Gran Turismo 7. And naturally, I want to know just how realistic is this version of the 296 GT3, so I couldn't think of a better way to test it out than to compare it to Max Verstappen's fastest lap at NLS 9 on the Nurburgring. So let's see what it takes to drive the Nurburgring like Max Verstappen. Naturally, the first thing we need to do in Gran Turismo is go to the brand central and go to Ferrari and buy ourselves a 296 GT3. This is a new next-gen GT3 car, one of the first really brought into Gran Turismo 7. And it'll cost you 1.2 million credits. And after purchasing it, the next thing we have to do is obviously go to the showroom. Pretty much as soon as this car got put into the game, people had already made Max Verstappen liveries for it, and Haro GT has this fantastic livery specifically of the car that Max drove in NLS 9, so we're going to add this to our collection so we can put it on our car. Great job by them, shout out to Haro GT. So now our car is ready to take to the track, almost. You'll notice that the max power is 599 horsepower. That's much higher than what a GT car normally runs because of balance of performance. So we have to look at the balance of performance and adjust it to get close to what Max was running. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at the Gran Turismo 7 Group 3 balance of performance. This is Gran Turismo 7's version of a GT3 class. And in this class, the car has 443 horsepower. So that's quite a reduction from the unrestricted GT3 car. But we're going to set this to the balance of performance, weight, and horsepower for Gran Turismo and go run a test lap. And here you can see I run a 754, which isn't bad, but it's a little bit slower than the lap that Max ran, which was a 751. And he ran that in traffic, and I'm running this at qualifying pace. So I go ahead and take all the restrictions off just to get a baseline, and you can see how much more straight line speed the car has with 600 horsepower. And of course with minimum weight and max horsepower, I'll easily run a 738. So much faster than what Max ran and what you would run with the balance of performance restriction. So somewhere in the middle is the right formula for the series that Max was running in. And some may not know that this is a unique series specifically for the Nurburgring NLS, and they have their own set of rules for GT3 cars to comply with. It's not the same as SRO or IMSA. NLS is specifically its own rule set for the Nurburgring. And luckily those rules are available online if you look around for them. So we can find the balance of performance and look at the benchmarks of what Max ran and hopefully get something closer by just following the NLS rules and regulations. So here we can see for the 296 GT3, we have a minimum weight, we have the max fuel load. We know that it's now 2965 pounds, that's without fuel and without driver. And then we also have things like the max wing angle, the rake of the car, and for Michelin's, the camber front and rear. We also know for NLS there's a 70 millimeter ride height restriction that you must comply with. So here I'm going to go through the final setup that I have for the car. So if you want to copy this, follow with me now. First we have racing softs. Those seem to match the grip levels the best. And then of course I bumped the ride height up to 70 millimeters and put a little bit of rake in it so the car is overall raised from the default. And of course the max camber for the Michelin's, I just set it to the same. And I took quite a bit of toe out of the rear to help the car rotate at lower speeds. And then the last major change I made was maxing out the front downforce. And of course we have 509 horsepower, which seemed like a good amount for the speeds that Max was hitting on the straightaways. And then 65 kilograms of ballast puts us at the minimum weight for the class. So we should be compliant with NLS now. So with these changes applied, we can now go to the Nurburgring and run our lap and see just how close I come to Max's lap with this setup. So there you have it, a 750.268, which puts us about 1.25 seconds faster than Max, when Max had at least that amount of time held up in traffic. So he easily could have ran that time, if not quicker. And there were still a few differences between Gran Turismo and obviously his lap. His was ran on lap 5 with worn tires and a low fuel load, where I ran with a full fuel load and fresh tires with 1X tire and fuel wear. Also, you saw on the Kesselsen climb, I had a little bit of a tailwind, which gave me a bit of a boost at the end of that straight and put me a little bit ahead, but even with that, Max still had more pace than I did in the final few sectors, which caught him back up even with me by the end. One of the main reasons I enjoy Gran Turismo is you get a lot more customization of the car's parameters like horsepower and weight, so you can actually fine-tune these things and get the car as close to the real-life car as possible, even if it's not exactly a perfect match. That's it for this video. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.